Welcome back to Sexual Health. It's all about testicular cancer right now. It's a fact that worldwide testicular cancer affects all men, though this is a rare cancer, and we're looking at how you can get help. Help is underway. Now let's talk about, there you are, diagnosed, and you now have to go out there and teach others. When do you get to that point? When did you get comfortable to know that you can extend your teaching to now creating awareness as well?
It took a while. I've written, or writing was my therapy. So I was often sitting at night, and to cope with the cancer, I've written all the things down. And I've written it in German. In 2004, I published it as a book in Germany. And the English version was then published or translated and then published 2011. And it's actually since I published the German book that I feel comfy standing in front of people saying, yes, I had testicular cancer, yes, I lost one nut. Or I will always say, well, my one nut is fake because I've got an implant, because the real one tried to kill me. So I make jokes about this, but that's after I worked through the whole process, I think.
Absolutely.
And now I don't have a problem to talk about this.
And I guess the working goes hand in hand with understanding the realities of testicular cancer. Let's talk about how prevalent this condition is. And the target groups, I know that I talked about men between the ages of 15 even.
Unfortunately, in South Africa, we don't have a really good figure of the exact stats.
Yeah.
We're still working on 2008 statistics.
Wow.
But that is a different story. But we know that most cases occur in men between ages 20 and 50. So although the textbooks will tell you 15 to 38 or 39, it's not really the case. Older men can also get it. And the South African experience so far, according to statistics, is that white men in South Africa tend to be more at risk for testicular cancer than Asian and or black men.
Could it be that, amongst black men, not many of them present themselves, that often times it will be associated with
lack
witchcraft?
Of access.
And being associated with witchcraft because,
stigma.
Conditions such as cancer amongst black communities are not well received. What has been your experience?
I'm a cancer buddy in Cape Town. That means cancer patients can contact me as a survivor, and I give them support or listen to their story. And at these workshops there were women, particularly the one woman, she came from Khayelitsha and she had breast cancer, and she said the moment she told her husband she had breast cancer, he dumped her. And I think that's where we have to do a lot of education, that it's not contagious, it's not witchcraft, it's just your own body cells that go mad and forms a tumor. And if you go early, then you've got a good survival chance. Like me, I survived. 20 years ago, I had the cancer.
20 years ago?
Yeah, I was 95.
Wow.
So I'm a living example that if you go early, then you can survive. If you wait too long, then you have to get so much more treatment. And then these people that go late, they go for treatment, they get heavy treatment. And if they come back to their community, the community see all their hair falls out, they start vomiting, they don't feel well, and then they see it as witchcraft because, look, he went to the hospital, was all fine, now he comes back and there's something wrong. So it's actually a vicious cycle. And if we could educate the people and say, well, go check your body, and as soon as you feel something changes, not only testicular cancer, could be breast cancer, could be anything.
Seek help.
Yeah, go and see your doctor.
Let's talk about treatment options that are available, because surely it's not all doom and gloom, especially with early detection.
Well, there are mostly three types of treatment available. One that usually takes place is surgery as well, because you've got cancer in the testicle and you don't want that testicle to stay there with the cancer because it can spread from there. So surgery is usually takes place. And then surgery in combination with radiation therapy or surgery in combination with chemotherapy. And very rarely maybe a combination of all of them.
And you talked about 90% success rate.
With early detection, and I think Torsten is a living example, and he told you he went early. And he made mention of his experience in his community as well. With early detection, early treatment, survival is really 99% with testicular cancer.
I experienced it myself. When I was a teacher, after I had the cancer, every year when I got a new class group, one lesson was on testicular cancer. So I informed these boys every year. And then in 2006, a former student of mine contacted me, invited me for coffee and said, I'd just like to say thank you that you mentioned that in class.
Sure.
Just because you told us, I was aware, and I went to the doctor, and he said to me, so you actually saved my life. I'm 16 years old. I went in time. And that actually energized me to start that foundation. It's just by talking balls, I'm saving lives.
Absolutely, and I'm sure it's your favorite subject. I mean,
Yeah, well,
men and their balls.
Yeah.
Michael, let's talk about the treatment journey. That oftentimes you'd see people losing their hair, read about what you're going to go through, and you know, sometimes a lot of myths do rounds. What is to expect during the treatment journey?
I think an important thing, immediately before treatment starts, the treating doctor should inform the patient what he can expect. Then you don't get all the surprises all of a sudden. Because to wake up one morning and you've got hair on your pillowcase and you touch your hair and really you've got bunches of hair falling out, that is so scary. And it's not towards good therapy.
Yeah.
So people should know what to expect. They must know what complications or difficulties they could experience with certain medications, because we know with medicine A, B, and C, you can expect nausea and vomiting and so on. So we need to inform people,
and I'm sure
then
it's
they will know.
important to also inform your healthcare provider if you experience any challenges. Now, what are some of the challenges that you experienced, Hebs, where you look back and thought, should I be continuing with this?
I must say the chemotherapy, the last few days, I had 2 sessions of 5 days each, so it was not really long treatment because the cancer was detected early. But the last treatment, I often thought in the morning, I don't want to go there anymore, because I say it in my book as well, if you go to hospital if you don't feel well, and then you leave hospital again because you cured, you're well with any other disease.
Don't wanna go
But
back.
with chemotherapy, it's actually the other way around. You feel good, and then you go for treatment and you come out and you feel really bad. And so it's actually...
And how do you motivate yourself to go back? When you feel like
that? I think you carry on because you do anything because you like to live. That keeps going back and for the next treatment, But it's losing your hair, all kinds. You've got body pain, as you've got flu, you don't feel well all the time. Then you feel like I'm hungry,
and
and
food
you'd
doesn't
like
stay.
and it doesn't taste like anything because your taste buds are like dead. You can eat chocolate or drink water or have a chicken; it tastes the same. So you feel really bad during that time.
Now, Michael, what about support system? Because obviously you can't go through this journey alone.
Support groups are so important, and doctors can only do a favor to a patient, to say to him, contact a cancer organization, because we have support groups in practically every town, and we don't necessarily always have big groups, but we have cancer buddies like Torsten, who's a good example, who in his community is known, and I think he should just advertise it a little bit more, that every GP in his town must know that he is a cancer buddy. And he can be not only a buddy to testicular cancer patients, but to all cancer patients, because the journey is similar. And he can really go out and support people in a way that I, who haven't walked the walk, cannot really do. Because this is a living example. Having walked the walk, and he can accompany and support
It's possible.
people.
Looking back, what are some of the things that you look back and think, I should have known that?
I should have known that.
Especially as a teacher.
Well, information, it's 20 years back. During my time in Namibia, there was not such thing than a support group. And I think that's why I started writing, because that was my support.
Yes.
Today, you get really good support groups, and there are guys contacting me, and it's really, they feel comfortable because they're talking to somebody who's had the same experience. I never say to them, I know how you feel, because we all
You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say to them, well, I've been there. I can tell you what I've done, what helped
Yes.
me. And sometimes for these guys, it's just to talk about it,
Yeah.
because you've got that fear that you're going to die. And to share that thought with your family, they don't want to hear this, or they can't cope with this. You can't cope with it.
Yeah.
So talking to somebody like me, because you go through, you're getting depressed, you self-destructive thoughts, you don't like life anymore. And if these guys go through these processes and they mention it, and then I said to them, well, it happened to me as well. It's a dip you're going through. Don't give up. You will
And
come
when
out
I
on the
see
other
you
side.
having come out of the dip,
Yeah.
and me in the dip, it says there's hope.
Yeah,
There's you become that
And
ray
it-
of sunshine.
yeah, and it
in
makes
darkness.
the life for them maybe easier, because they're talking to somebody
Yeah.
who's been there. That makes it today, with all the support groups and information around, it's much easier. And I think what should still have to be done is that the people know there's this information and know where to go to find the information, because people often don't have the access to this
Yeah.
information.
No, we can only thank you for being that light and bringing that hope in the midst of darkness. Now, being physically active has been linked with a lower risk of several or other forms of cancer, as well as a lower risk of many other health problems. Stay with us and stay active.